Do not let the negative things going on in your life define who you are or affect the quality of your life. And I don't care how big or small the negative is. There's so much negativity going around about the coronavirus right now. We have to stop and think, well, what control do you have over that? Do you want that to define who you are? Or are you going to take your God-given talents? And I truly believe God has gifted us all. But some people have not tapped into that concept. We all have talents. We are here for a purpose. And if we focus on that and not focus on the things that we have no control over, we're not only going to help others, we're going to help ourselves live a better life and not be defined by the negative stuff going on around us.
Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. You're in for a treat today. I love just podcast day because I get to meet amazing people. And the ones that I know, I get to know them even more. And this amazing woman that we have today, I'll tell you what, she's a dear friend. She's beautiful inside and out, and I hold her dear to my heart. Sometimes we don't realize how much we value someone until we get to know them more and more. So I want to welcome to the show right now a dear friend, Miss Sonya Etchemendy. How you doing, Sonya?
I'm wonderful, Daniel. How are you today? Thank you for having me on.
I was excited. I was looking at my calendar who my guests were going to be this week, and look whose name showed up was Sonya, and I'm like, wow, right? Sonya, I know the amazing, beautiful person you are because we spend a lot of time together. Let the audience of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show know who is Sonya Etchemendy.
Oh, Sonya Etchemendy is, first of all, I'm a Christian. I'm a very devoted wife. I'm a loving mother, grandmother. I have a lot of patience. I have 3 dogs. I'm an author, and I write from the heart. I'm also a coach, and I do leadership training and team training.
Well, you're powerful. You're an amazing woman. Everything she said, she's that and even more, and a bag of chips. Because I know her personally. But, Sonya, I love you because you're out there taking action. You're out there doing it. You just wrote your book, and you're about to do your second book. And you've been speaking. You came and spoke at one of our events last year. And, what I love about you is that so many of us, as we grow older, we believe that we're too old and we don't do the things we need to do. But I see you, I've known you going on already almost 4 years, and the more time I spend with you, the more action you're taking. What motivates you? What inspires you to really go out there and just take massive action at this stage of your life? Because I really believe that your latter days are going to be better than your former days because you still have so much more life to live. So share that with us because you're doing amazing things that people that are a lot younger have more energy should be doing, but you're out energizing them.
Daniel, it has an awful lot to do with who you hang around with. A lot. I'll give you an example. I just turned 70. That's a 70 years old a weekend before last. And now I have to tell you, coming up to age 70 was strange because my mother passed away at 70. And I thought she was an old lady when she passed away. So I thought to myself, what am I going to be like when I turn 70? Am I going to be different? I need to prepare for this because I don't know what's going to happen on the other side of that wall when I realize, okay, today at 12:30 noon, I'm 70. And I thought back to my 40th birthday party, 40, the worst birthday party I ever had in my life. I was surrounded by people who thought it was funny to do negative stuff. They filled my car with black balloons. They had black balloons delivered to my office along with black roses. Yes, there are black roses. It was very depressing. I was embarrassed because I was having clients come in and I'm getting to the top of my career. It was horrible. And so as I turned 70, I thought, I want this to be a good time, but I just don't know. I trust the people around me, a whole different mindset of people around me. So you know what happened? They threw a surprise party for me. And listen, when you turn in 70, you know the people that love you are going to do something special. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And when it happened, what happened to me, Daniel, is something I did not expect. I feel younger now than before I turned 70 because my heart and soul are right around 40. This is how I should have been feeling at 40 on my birthday.
I have to say, you're shining through the screen right now. I see you and I see this vibrance. I see this energy and I just love it. And this is a part of the show. Before Sonya continues, because she's going to drop some wisdom right here, I want you to get out your pen and paper because something magical happens when you get out your pen and paper and you write down. When you put pen to paper, you retain over 80% of the content. So write down, because Sonya has a lot of wisdom. And she's telling me right now, who are you associating with? I love that. She's already dropping value bombs. So Sonya, go ahead, please.
Well, you know, we get into our circles and we get around people, hopefully, that help us grow, that are honest with us when we need to shift in some way. If we're not doing things that represent who we are, we want people that we trust to come to us. But you know what's really hard is when you get to a point when you realize I need to either have a different circle or bring different people into my circle. Then I realize it's really one big circle with different pockets.
Yes.
My circle is my circle. And some people think, oh, well, these people in this circle, they're not doing it for me. So I'm just going to forget about them. And what they're doing is burning bridges. So once you get a circle, you keep that pod within your big circle. Because, Daniel, sometimes we need the haters to say something to us.
To motivate us, right?
Right. And it also reminds us how much we've grown. Sometimes we forget about our own personal growth, but it takes a hater to say something. It happened to me this past weekend, actually. You know, I had pointed out this young man, he's turning 51. He's retiring from being in the IT world for 30 years. He didn't know what he wanted to do with himself. Actually, he's depressed. And he shared with me a major operation that his wife had. So I met with he and his wife. She had something very traumatic happen, and he stepped in, and a home care nurse pointed out to him that he should go into the medical field because she had never seen someone take charge like he did. And in his mind, he thought, this is so outside my box, but I think I want to do this.
Yes.
And he's now registering for nursing school, which I think is fabulous. And so that's what, you know, I have my tin can moments, which is a process, has to do with our attitude and our faith. And so he took the attitude all of a sudden when that happened in that horrible moment with his wife and the inside of her body was exposed and he had to take action. He realized then what his next journey was going to be. And so
Yes.
the good thing that came out of that is that he's found a new path. It's taken care of his depression because now he has focus and he's able to help his wife recover.
I love what you're saying because what you're saying is, if ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Sonya's saying. So many times we burn bridges in relationships, and I don't recommend you burn bridges, right? Sometimes those bridges, you just don't use them as often. We have these bridges with relationships with people that, you know, we're coming up in whether in your industry, what you're doing in life and friendships. And sometimes those people, like Sonya's saying, you just kind of push them a little bit on the outskirts because there's new people that need to come into your life to help you go on that next journey of your life. And I agree with Sonya, what you're saying, because so many times we burn bridges and then we totally cut them off. But sometimes it's amazing how she said, I love the way she used the story about the pod, right? There's that pod. And sometimes those pods ignite a fire in you because, Sonya, people will criticize what they can't duplicate. Let me say it again. People will criticize what they can't duplicate. In reality, in the inside of them, they're saying, man, I wish I could do that. Or man, but instead of it, you criticize it. And let me ask you this. What is a time, without saying names, that maybe somebody criticized what you were doing and you were surprised, right? But what did you learn about yourself in that moment? Because right now, I really want to add value to those entrepreneurs because you're doing amazing. You're speaking, you're doing it, right? And you turned 70, and that's what I love about you. So talk to us about a time when somebody criticized what you were doing and it kind of caught you off guard. But what did you learn about that in that moment?
I'm so glad you asked that question, and this was not pre-planned. I'd like to very quickly share a story that I spoke about on the John Maxwell stage in Orlando, Florida. When I was just starting out in my government job, I facilitated difficult groups. I was facilitating a group, and a young lady named Hillary, that's her real name, she's deceased, so I'm not, anyway, a young lady, Hillary, at the end of that training, said to me in front of the whole group, "This was a total waste of my time. You don't know what you're doing. Your co-facilitator doesn't know what she's doing. I cannot believe the government is spending time on this. It was a total waste." And she got up and walked out. Well, I kept my composure. I, closed up the class. And then I had a huge cry with my co-facilitator. And I said, "I've got to report it. Or do I report? If I report it, this is the government. So if I report it, she's going to be reprimanded. What do I do with this?" And so my co-facilitator said, "You've got to learn the lesson. What's your lesson? What's your lesson?" So I knew I had not been checking in with her as often as I should have been. And I think we ought to have attitudes with leadership where we make our decisions. We must make decisions as leaders. So I forgave her. Just through prayer, I forgave her. 10 years later, I was promoted to the head of acquisitions and contracting for the Environmental Protection Agency in New England. And I was brought into a huge conference room and introduced to all my staff. And I was introduced to their newest employee, and they asked her to stand. True story. It was Hillary. She was now working for me and had said she said some really bad things to me personally. And I welcomed her. She and I never, ever talked about what happened. So my point is, the words that are spoken to you when you're put down, that is not near as important as the action you take.
Oh, I love that. Say that again, please.
The words that are said to you, they are not as near important as the action you take. So
Wow.
What happened is Hillary ended up being one of my best contracting officers because I showed her, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, I was showing her how to be a leader, how to keep our emotions in check. That emotional intelligence is a real thing and can mess us up with our words if we're not aware of it.
That's, what you just said is so powerful. It's like, wow, like crazy, because so many times we react to the situation. So many times we react to it and then we say something that we shouldn't say and we can't take it back. But you were the mature leader in this situation and you didn't say anything. You stayed silent, and look at God rewarded you for that. And I just love what you said. So you need to write this down. What Sonya just said is amazing wisdom. So many times we're quick to respond. We're quick to react to an accusation. We're quick to react to what someone criticizes. It's something that they're going through. It's not anything that you did. It's just issues that they're dealing with. And sometimes people they've never been taught how to communicate it. They're a new leader. They've never been taught social skills like Sonya's saying. And you being the leader, you being the mature person, you have to be patient and not react to every situation. So I love that you said that, Sonya. So let me ask you this. You leave your government job. What in the heck what made you want to be an entrepreneur after you retired from that? Because, there's some women right now listening that need this motivation, this inspiration. What made you want to become an entrepreneur, go out there and even aspire to be an author?
It was a journey. I had always had a dream to own my own business, my own brick and mortar business. And that's what I did when I retired. And I was successful at it. I recouped my investment the first 6 months. So I knew it was a good thing. but I was still on the East Coast and I wanted to get home to Arkansas. So when the business was on top and I could see down the road that the honeymoon was going to be over soon, I sold my business and moved back to Arkansas. And what happened, I found out when you retire, you really don't retire. You just wake up and do something different every day. And so I was searching, what should I do? I worked in a flower shop for a while. I actually went back to the government on a temporary basis to negotiate some contracts. And I said to myself, what am I doing here with all these regulations? So that was a 6-month short tour. And I worked in the theater. I loved to be on stage. Then I directed plays, but I still wasn't full, if you know what I mean. I prayed because I felt like I had something. I had been extremely successful in the government and working with people. I was a court mediator for the Boston court system. I knew I had something. I didn't know what it was. Well, I developed a lot of tools joining the John Maxwell team. I learned so much about what I didn't know and what I knew and didn't know what to do with it. So I started my own company, Etch Your Life. It's a small business consulting company here in my town in Jacksonville. And I only work with small businesses because they understand that their employees are their key customers. So I teach them how to treat their employees, and it affects their bottom line every time. And so from there, I was interviewed on a podcast, and all of a sudden, Ted Ken Momus was birthed. I didn't know that I could write, and I didn't realize I had a story. And when I first started writing the book, I thought it was going to be a book about notes in a tin can. But as I researched and I prayed, and I was quiet when I was supposed to be quiet, so God sent people to me that I never dreamt I would have met, all in a book that created this groundswell of people who are tired of the negativity in the world.
So what did you learn about yourself and as you started this journey? Because becoming an entrepreneur is no joke, right? It's nothing to, it definitely takes some personal growth, self-development. There's somebody out there right now listening to this episode, and I want you to take a moment and really share, what did you learn about yourself? Because so many people aspire to do what you did. Think about that. You were retired, you were back, and you're doing it. Not that you're successful in what you do. You're an amazing author. People are buying your books left and right off of Amazon. What did you learn about yourself that you want to share with the audience right now that somebody needs to hear?
Do not let the negative things going on in your life define who you are or affect the quality of your life. And I don't care how big or small the negative is. You know, there's so much negativity going around about the coronavirus right now. We have to stop and think, well, what control do you have over that? Do you want that to define who you are? Or are you going to take your God-given talents? And I truly believe God has gifted us all. But some people have not tapped into that concept. We all have talents. We are here for a purpose. And if we focus on that and not focus on the things that we have no control over, we're not only going to help others, we're going to help ourselves live a better life and not be defined by the negative stuff going on around us.
This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and I want to personally invite you out to the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy here in San Antonio, Texas on Friday, September the 10th and Saturday, September the 11th. If you want to get paid to speak, if you're an aspiring speaker who wants to share your story, or if you want more paid speaking engagements, we're going to show you how to apply, where to apply, and we're going to give you a professional speaking reel as part of your platinum package. Call me at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. It's time to start living your dream and becoming that paid professional speaker. Our graduates have earned thousands and gotten paid to speak. Be one of them. We'll see you here on September 10th and 11th at the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy in San Antonio, Texas. Call me now at 210-663-5954 to reserve your seat now.
I love that, right? How many times do we let the negativity around us define us? And it goes back to what you said, how the associations that we have, those pods, those circles that you said, if you're in a negative pod, you need to find another pod. Don't let those circles influence you, because there's always going to be, like you said, we were talking about the critics. You need to find a new pod. You need to, as you're going on your journey of growth, just understand this. You're going to outgrow people. And yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, you're not going to want to forget about them. But like Sonya just said, they're going to be in a different pod. But what pod's going to get you to where your destination of where God has you or where God wants you to go to? And I think so many times, Sonya, I went through that myself, because you outgrow people. And these are people that you love, you hold dear to your heart. You outgrow them. You don't have the same interest anymore. And I love talking about podcasts now, and I love talking about speaking, and they just want to talk about other things that don't interest me anymore. Not that they're bad people, but it's just not my interest, because my heart has changed. And I think that's what you're saying. So let me ask you this. On your journey, tell us a time that you lost your confidence, and what did you do to regain it?
Oh, wow. I think my biggest low was, at the beginning of COVID, because I was just starting to flow, rolling flow, I call it. I was speaking, I was training. I love to get out and train in person. And at the time, I felt I didn't have the technical ability to know how to do all of that online. And so I had to cancel a lot. In fact, I think the last event I went to was either yours or Melody's. I think I went to Melody's first, and then I came to yours. And that's right. That's when COVID hit, because people were asking you that day, are you going to cancel this? Because other people in the building were going to cancel. And you said, no, we're doing this. And we did it. But when I got home, Not everybody had that attitude. So everything I had scheduled for the next 6 months were canceled. And even, my tin can moments in the school system, which has just been totally embraced by the superintendent. And now the local Kiwanis Club can take that on and help me bring that into other school districts. That paused. That was a big blow. Nothing anybody could do about it. So at the time, I fell into that trap that a lot of people fell into. And the good thing is that the people in my circle, the people who really knew, liked, trusted me, told me the vibe I was giving off. And I was told to practice what I preach. And I thought, how can I get back? So I got myself a coach. I got myself a wonderful, wonderful coach. And the first time I talked to that coach, I cried my eyes out. I was in such a low, low place. And I didn't really know this person well enough to cry my heart out and to lay everything out on the table. But it was the best thing I could have done for myself. I had to accept the fact that I was down. I had to accept the fact that I was just as vulnerable as everybody else. I had to accept the fact I couldn't do it by myself. I needed help. And I had to accept some of the things my coach told me that I just I just don't think that's right. But I had to trust my coach enough to try it. And that was the turning point, really, 2020. And I think a lot of people today, in fact, I know a lot of people today are still suffering from the impact of 2020. It just shut us all down.
This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and I want to personally invite you out to the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy here in San Antonio, Texas on Friday, September the 10th and Saturday, September the 11th. If you want to get paid to speak, if you're an aspiring speaker who wants to share your story, or if you want more paid speaking engagements, we're going to show you how to apply, where to apply, and we're going to give you a professional speaking reel as part of your platinum package. Call me at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. It's time to start living your dream and becoming that paid professional speaker. Our graduates have earned thousands and gotten paid to speak. Be one of them. We'll see you here on September 10th and 11th at the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy in San Antonio, Texas. Call me now at 210-663-5954,
to reserve your seat now. I love what you said, because so many times we get in these situations, Sonya, and we don't really open ourselves up to something new. We speak about it, but we don't really do it. We're not walking in what we talk about. And what I see is so many times people, that pride, that ego gets in the way, and they don't ask for help. And I love what you're saying, because somebody out there right now, the solution is pretty simple. You just need to reach out to somebody and ask for help. So many times, why go through it alone when a coach can get you there quicker, or just someone to talk to, right? And listen to what Sonya said. She cried her heart out. She opened her heart out. But sometimes you just need to release those emotions, and there's maybe somebody that you can't release it to. So I encourage you right now, use the words of wisdom that Sonya's just sharing. If you're stuck in a rut, reach out to somebody. People love you. God is putting people around you, whether it's a mentor, a coach. And like she said, she couldn't see it by herself. And so let me ask you this. What's one of the things that you really took and just ran with it once, you cried out your heart? What did you learn about yourself that you always had and you didn't realize it until after you were going through these coaching sessions?
I learned that it wasn't a joke, that there are people who need to hear my message, that the more I don't deliver my message, the more people lose it. They don't get it. And my message is changing lives all over the world. So what if I stepped back and held that and didn't do anything with it? And one thing was said to me that touched me really big, and that is, let's just say I happen to believe I'm going to be in front of God one day. Now, the people listening to this, they may not believe in the same God I believe in. They may believe in a different higher power. They may believe there is no higher power, but I personally believe in God. And someone said to me, well, what are you going to tell God when he looks at you and says, what did you do with all those gifts I gave you?
Yes.
It could have been totally lost had I not asked and reached out for help. And so I can see now that I never saw before how important it is to take what God's given us and help people. It helps us.
Wow, that's powerful right there. So many times as human beings, we don't think we make impact. We don't think that we impact the people around us. And so many times we have more impact than we realize. The words that we speak, the gestures that we give them, the compliments that we give them, a word of encouragement can go a long way. So ladies and gentlemen, never undervalue the impact you're having. And, Sonya, today I was so grateful because I opened up an email and I was in the top 60 podcasts in Europe and Norway. And I was just like, wow, right? Like,
congratulations.
I'm impacting people in Norway and Europe. And I was just like, praise God. And never did I imagine, right? And that's the power of your story, what you're saying. That's the power of sharing your story.
Do you think it would be okay? Do you mind if I share the name of my coach? Would that be appropriate or not?
Actually, I was going to save it to the end. But we could,
okay.
But
you go ahead.
Yeah, but I say that to you because your story, if I wouldn't have followed my heart and shared my story, the Daniel Gomez Inspired Show would have never been born. It would have never been here. But to get that email, like, it's amazing. And you shared with me a story offline that how your tin can moment, how somebody sent you a note and it changed their lives. Like, that's powerful. And that was just the fact that you had an idea that God gave you and you acted upon that. I want you to tell us about that moment because you shared with me that story and I love it, right? You changed a woman's life and through an idea that you were given, but you acted upon it. And tell us a little bit about what is that story that we're talking about with the tin can moment, if you don't mind.
Is this the one that I got recently, like last week? Because I got a huge one last week. I'll have to share with you. Daniel, I don't know most of the people that buy my book. Only if they buy it through my website do I get connected with them personally. But this young man purchased my book. He's in his 20s. And I received a message that he had gone in for major surgery, got addicted to his pain medication, and had to go into rehab for 30 days. And he actually took my book, Living a Life of Tin Can Moments, with him to recovery. And he said, your book helped me through recovery. There were so many stories and ideas about different situations. And, quote, my book and the concept around the tin can moment process helped him through recovery. So we never know how we're going to help people. It's just important that we put it out there, because when you get a message like that back, that's priceless.
That's, you know what? That's just powerful. There's nothing more gratifying than getting a comment like that, how you're really making a difference. So let's shift here a little bit. I want to ask you this question.
Okay.
You're an amazing woman. I know this, but I want the audience to hear, what makes Sonya Etchemendy distinctive? What makes you unique?
I believe I'm unique because I'm on a mission. I have been on this mission all my life. And I have to tell you, I've experienced so many negative things in my life, life-threatening. Twice I should have died. I mean, really critical things. And God has always given me the courage and the wisdom to face it. Now, is that because I'm special? No. He gives that to a lot of people. But they don't connect the outcome with God's journey. See, our journey looks like this. Well, man, we're just going to go right up that mountain. God's journey is like this. You got to learn some lessons. Oh, you didn't learn them. You got to learn some more lessons. And so I've spent a lifetime learning lessons. And so now it's my responsibility to help people who are having a difficult time overcoming barriers. And I got to tell you, a barrier can be a bunion. It could be cancer and anything in between. So I think my biggest barrier that I overcame, and this is a story documented in my medical records. I was diagnosed with stage 4 bone marrow cancer in May of 2019. Now, the life expectancy with that kind of diagnosis is 1 to 5 years. And I laugh because nobody knows when my expiration date is but God. And so I had a choice. Okay, do I sit here and have pity parties? Oh, I've had a couple of pity parties. But you know what? Just don't think I'm crazy, because I really mean this. I feel blessed that I was diagnosed with this cancer, because I had hundreds and thousands of people all over the world praying for me. And I believe in the power of prayer. Those people have prayed me out of 2 other near-death experiences. And so here I am now in March of 2021 in remission. Now I still have cancer in my blood, but it's at such a low level, we don't even treat it. So I go for blood work every 3 months, and it's kind of like, do the blood, let me get out of here.
I'm laughing because I'm seeing you right now. I'm seeing you in front of me, and just the vibrance that you have. It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, what are you talking about? But ladies and gentlemen, if you were to see the hand gesture that she made, right? What makes her distinctive wasn't the fact that it was from point A to point B, a straight line to success. She went up a ravine, down a valley, swam across a creek, hiked back up the mountain, another valley. Now she had to cross a raging river, and then she made it to her destination. And so many times we expect that line to be a straight line, and it doesn't go that way sometimes. Sometimes we have to be prepared and strengthened and fortified. And if we don't go through those valleys, if we don't go down those ravines, if we don't go through those times of trials, we don't have the proper preparation that we need.
And someone said to me, how can having cancer be a blessing? How do you take that and help people? Well, when I started my chemo, I had my daughter as my caretaker and the nurse, and I would go in the infusion room and have my chemo treatments. And I realized that we needed to have a partnership in order for this to work. Everybody has a responsibility. So while I was in chemo, I spoke with my oncologist, told him my idea of setting up a partnership with people going through chemo. He loved the idea so much that has been the foundation for my second book, 10 Canned Moments, The Partnership. And just to put it in perspective, I have doctors endorsing this book, wanting the partnership concept in their offices, their clinics, and their hospitals. And I have the president of the Medical Board Association of America is endorsing this book. So that's just to tell you, that's why had I not had the diagnosis and had I not sat in that infusion room and watched people letting that disease define them, that's all they could talk about. Yes. And yet there's so much more going on in life. So that's why it was a blessing.
I want you to do me a favor right now, because there's somebody listening to this podcast episode and they're about to give up. Maybe they don't have cancer, but maybe that loved one has a disease, some type of sickness, diabetes, lupus, something. Look at the camera and talk to that person. Give them a word of encouragement for about a minute, because I really feel in my heart that I would love for you to do that if you don't mind, please.
Absolutely. First of all, you have to acknowledge you have what you have. Let's just say it's a medical condition. You have it, so what are you going to do with it? But don't do it by yourself. You don't have to. You need a caretaker. A lot of people think that has to be a member of your family. And that would be nice if they are and they could stay with you. But when I say caretaker, it could be a friend or a neighbor, but it needs to be someone who could go to doctor appointments with you. Because as you're going through this medical condition, you're not going to absorb everything your doctor says. I guarantee you're not, because you're focusing on your condition, especially initially. So you want someone that you trust to go with you. And then once you get assigned to the nurse or the medical team or the doctor that you're going to be working with, you need to establish a partnership. And what I mean by that, what are your boundaries? What does the doctor want you or not want you to do? Your caretaker, what are those boundaries? You know, my daughter's boundaries when I was in treatment, the nurse gave her permission to go get warm blankets, to go into the secure room to get ice for me, because it took a load off of the nurse if my daughter could do all of those things. You know, unhook me and walk me to the bathroom. It gave the nurse time to do other things. And yet I needed to know what medicine was going in my body. So the nurse gave me the responsibility of counting bags and knowing what the last bag was supposed to look like. So we all had our role to do. And the hard part of it is that I would want something and my daughter would say, Mom, it's not time. You can't have that yet. And I would get a little irritated because it's like, well, why not? And she would look at me and say, because that's our agreement. So once you agree to the boundaries, you have to adhere to them. But I have to tell you, the process is so much easier. You know, I'm the type of person, I'm a control freak. I've got to have control of everything. But by letting that control go, I healed faster. It affects the healing process for you, the patient, if you allow the caretaker to do what they can do.
Can you say that again? Say that again. Somebody needs to hear that. When you let control, what happens? When you let go of control?
Yeah, when you let go of control, you will heal faster. You know, I didn't want to give up my medications. But if you give up your medications to someone you know, like, and trust, and they've coordinated with your nurse, you don't have to worry about, am I taking it at this time or that time? That's gone. Free time up to, work a Sudoku puzzle. Do something that will get your brain sharp and keep your brain sharp.
I love what you said, Sonya, because how many of us are not letting go of unforgiveness, of resentment, of bitterness, of past mistakes that we've made? We're not letting go of the shame and the guilt. I love the way you said it, just the way you said it. Once you let go, you healed faster. And so many of us, our lives ain't healing that are listening to this episode because we're not letting go of all those things We're not letting go of those failures, those mistakes, those regrets. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to let those go. You have to let those go. Wow. Man, Sonya, this has been an amazing episode. I'm loving it. So you have your book out there. If someone wants to get your book, Tin Can Moments, tell us a little bit about that. Where can they get their books? I definitely want them to connect with you. And how can they find Sonya Etchemendy? Please tell us that, if you don't mind.
You could go to the website, www.tincanmoments, with an S, plural, tincanmoments.com. You can find the book. The whole site's being redone, so it may be down for a little while soon, but not long. And you can find out about the book. You can contact me. If you don't contact me, contact somebody. Contact somebody, because you can't do this by yourself. You can't get out of your COVID dump by yourself. Because if you're stuck in a dump, you might have people around you that are stuck in a dump too. And you're feeding off each other. So crawl out, find someone who's got out of that dump, and just say, who do you know that I should know? Who should I talk to? Because I'm tired of the dump.
Wow, I love that. So, Sonya, what is a quote or a scripture that you rely on times of adversity?
I learned a very important quote to say to myself every day from my coach, and that is, I am worthy. And that's huge. I am worthy of success. I am worthy of receiving. And I cannot believe that I'm just now realizing the importance of not only understanding that, but believing it. And I finally know of my worth.
Wow. Well, I have to say this, Sonya. I'm honored to be your coach. I love you. You're amazing. You've done the work this past year and a half, and it shows in who you're becoming. And I can honestly say with all my heart that your best is yet to come. So I'm honored to be called your coach.
Oh, you changed my life. And, not everybody gets matched up with the right coach. I tried a couple of coaches before I came to you, and you're a faith-based coach. And that's exactly what I personally needed. So I want to thank you.
Well, I'm honored. I'm honored to be your coach. And before we end the show, tell the audience, please, at the Daniel Gomez Inspires show, of this amazing episode that's going to definitely impact the world. What is next for Sonya Etchemendy?
This is exciting. I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but human trafficking is huge worldwide. And I challenge everyone to Google it locally and see what's happening in your own community, in your state. You will be shocked. I've been blessed to ask to start giving personal growth training to human trafficking survivors starting this Saturday. And there have been a group of survivors come forward, and they have committed to going through the personal growth class. It's going to last 8 weeks. They're excited. I'm excited to share with them all the journeys that God put me through and how I got through them, and also to help them understand that they are worthy of every good thing coming to them. So, yeah, that's what I'll be doing. Is
wow. Well, congratulations. Congratulations for sure. I'm telling you, that's why I love doing these shows. You meet amazing women like Sonya, and, she's a beautiful person, and she's doing amazing things now, going into helping survivors of sex trafficking. That's a wrap for this week's episode. Definitely reach out to Sonya. We're going to have her information in the show notes of this amazing episode. So definitely reach out to her and get her book, Tin Can Moments. It is on Amazon. And like Sonya said, I'm honored to be her coach. If you're stuck in a rut in your life or business, reach out to me, Daniel Gomez. Our Chill to Faith coaching will definitely make a difference in all aspects, and we can definitely help you out. So send us a message at info@danielgomezinspires.com or go to our website, www.danielgomezglobal.com, and send us a message there. We definitely want to help you and add value to you. And once again, what an amazing episode today. That's the wrap for this week's episode. We'll see you next week here on the Daniel Gomez Inspires Show.
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.